Good morning, Trains Nation. Today is March 31st, Friday, March 31st, 2017. Welcome to another episode of Trains Newswire Video. I am Steve Sweeney.
I'm Brian Schmidt.
And we're so glad you could join us. I mean, wow, there's a lot of news going on this week.
There's a few things going on out there.
Now, you already said you wanted to talk about some CSX things. I know there was a hump yard that was that's sort of going away in Toledo, which is your old stomping grounds.
Well, the yard is remaining. CSX
Okay.
is just closing the hump at Stanley Yard.
Okay.
Stanley's a former Conrail facility CSX got in 1999. It's right next to Walbridge Yard, which is a former C&O facility. And basically, CSX uses Stanley and the hump to classify north and south traffic. A lot of traffic going in and out of Michigan.
Right. But not anymore.
Yeah, as of now, correct.
Yeah.
Not anymore. And then the nearby Walbridge Yard was just used for flat switching, auto racks, and staging coal trains and that.
Okay.
So Stanley is still open, but it's going to be flat switched now.
Yeah, and then now we hear it's Osborne Yard in Louisville.
Yeah.
Okay, and that comes. And then last week was Tilford Yard, almost
Atlanta.
2 weeks. Yeah, in Atlanta. And then we hear that there's going to be more. We're trying to confirm what those are, but it's just like all these humps are closing. You know, and for you never get too close to a yard to be able to really photograph it well, but I'm sure you have it sometimes.
There's a really good overpass right over the middle of Stanley Yard, right over just the south end of the hump. So it's decent to see. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's going to be kind of sad to watch. What are rail fans back home saying?
CSX will never make it work. Soon after the Conrail split, CSX tried to entirely close Stanley, not just the hump, but shut down the yard and do everything out of Walbridge. CSX was a different railroad then. It had a different mix of traffic.
Right.
And that just did not work, and it ended up reopening maybe a year later. It wasn't terribly long.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
but CSX is a different railroad now, as we know. Coal traffic is changed.
Yeah,
The
pretty low,
automotive
yeah.
industry has changed in 15 years too, and that was a lot of what was going north and south. So it'll be interesting to see how they do this. But the big difference is the yard is still open, just the hump is closed.
Yeah. It's interesting. Now it shows my ignorance. I mean, how many more humps could they possibly close? I didn't know how many humps they had, but I guess they have a few.
You want me to go through a list in the northern region, or?
No, that's okay.
Okay.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
But you know what? We've got those stories on Trains Newswire, so be sure to read up on that. This was our free week this week. So all the stories that we're talking about today are free and available to anyone out there in the universe.
For a few more hours, anyway.
For a few more hours, yeah. The offer, the open period ends late tonight, early
Offer
Saturday
expires,
morning.
void where prohibited, open to U.S. residents and anyone.
That's right.
Yeah,
we need the fast talking guy from FedEx Micro
that's
Machines.
right.
Yeah, that guy. Also, big news this week: Florida East Coast Railway
Yes.
is going to be bought not by Ferromex, but by Ferromex's parent company, Grupo Mexico, which I thought was kind of interesting. You've actually been down there to Florida East Coast, haven't you?
I have. Yeah, a couple times now. I've been down the Florida East Coast.
Yeah. So
Lots of containers going north and south.
yeah, which is good traffic, good business on a really well maintained right of way, and just it's. I didn't see this coming. I mean, I don't think any of
I
us
don't think
saw
anyone
this
saw it
coming.
coming. It just looks like a good investment, though. It doesn't look like there's any type of merger. I mean, they're so distantly disconnected.
Right, yeah, because FEC would be here and Ferromex would be over here, and you got this the New Orleans line from Jacksonville into Alabama.
And you got to ask too is how much traffic is actually moving between Florida and Mexico, and why wouldn't it already be on boats anyway? Because there's wide open shipping lanes between those two markets right now.
Right.
So it just seems to me like a good investment for Grupo Mexico and a way to maybe pick up some technology too. We'll see.
Technology, or maybe expand a U.S. presence. I don't know. We're going to be following that. We've got a Newswire story. Actually, we got like 2 or 3 Newswire stories on that this week so far.
What happens to All Aboard Florida?
All Aboard Florida is separate. Wait, I'm glad you bring this up because this is a really interesting point. I always thought that if they're under the Florida East Coast Industries umbrella, that FEC Railway and Brightline would go together. But not only are they separate companies, they both equally share the right-of-way, which is what Bob Johnston reported earlier this week. So no matter what happens to Florida East Coast Railway, the freight railroad, Brightline and All Aboard Florida, the passenger railroad, stays. It stays intact, and it has full rights and full access and privilege to run the right-of-way with as many passenger trains as they want.
And that's staying with Florida East Coast Industries, which is part of New York-based Fortress Investment Group, which is now part of
SoftBank of Japan.
Yes.
And if you're confused, how do you? Yeah, we'll continue sorting it out and try and label all the players once the dust settles. But really interesting. A lot of companies, a lot of foreign companies, a lot of people are interested in Florida right now, and so am I. If they get the passenger train running, there's a reason for me to go back.
When?
Right.
Not if.
When?
Right.
Right. When? I like that. Passenger news. Earlier this week, there was Lakeshore derailment in Chicago.
Lakeshore Limited.
Lakeshore Limited derailment in Chicago, near Union Station, I think at Roosevelt Road, was it?
Yeah, just north of Roosevelt Road.
It's sad. No injuries there, thank goodness, but a lot of cars on the ground. Looks like it.
3 or 4, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it picked a switch.
That's what it looks like.
Going into the terminal. But more on that when it becomes available. Ringling Brothers, Blue Unit, struck a semi-truck in rural Virginia earlier this week, so we got a quick story on that. We found out that Natural Tunnel Day is going to be in July. A little quick story on that. And that, if I read this correctly, the Niagara Rapid Transit has debuted a Lego rapid train set.
In Japan.
In Japan.
Yes. Legoland. It's promoting a theme park.
Legoland. But it kind of looks like it's a little bit built with Legos. So that's kind of cool. We got a neat story on that. Atlanta fire. You may have heard that overnight Thursday into Friday there was a fire underneath Interstate 85. It was a hot fire. And it melted the bridge. And NS tracks are right along.
Collapsed the bridge, actually.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
Collapsed the bridge. Melted some of the steel, and the concrete fell down, fell to the ground. That span. NS tracks right next to it. There's a story coming on this from David C. Lester, but the early reports are NS traffic is not directly affected.
MARTA has a facility, right, like a maintenance facility.
Yes.
Right there, you can see it from the overhead footage.
Yeah, MARTA is going to be increasing its traffic on other lines from that area, and they're going to be shifting things around. But so far, NS is not affected, but we'll be updating that later today. But of course, Interstate 85 is shut down in both directions. Really crazy. I can't imagine. Yeah, I can't imagine being down there. The last thing I got, which I thought was kind of an interesting story. I think actually you posted this up when I was gone earlier this week. A 13-year-old girl.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see this one?
I saw it, yeah.
A 13-year-old girl. Not Phoebe Snow, by the way. I thought about this. This is not Phoebe Snow, unless it's the Phoebe Snow for millennials. 13-year-old girl was visiting with family to Colorado Springs, Colorado, when she hopped into the hopper of a BNSF coal train and went with that coal train several hundred miles and detrained in Lubbock, Texas, when, drumroll, she ran out of Skittles.
It's the way to travel.
That's the way to travel. I mean, it's like one step below Amtrak now, right? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It's only the Empire Corridor service between Buffalo and Albany. So if you can, on that bombshell, if you can come up with an interesting riddle or rhyme, keep it clean, even though there's coal dust involved, in the mode of Phoebe Snow on the Lackawanna, is there something we can talk about with a girl traveling in a coal train running out of Skittles? So post that below in the comment section. Again, keep it clean. We mean this. And we'll mention one of the better ones next week. What do you think? Bacon.
Enough to keep my mouth shut right now.
Sounds good. Hey guys, we're glad you could join us. Have a great, safe weekend, and we'll see you next time.
The drama of modern railroading is nowhere more apparent than in Chicago. Trains Magazine takes you along for an up-to-date look at the Windy City's railroad scene with its new 60-minute DVD and special issue, Chicago, America's Railroad Capital. You will see today's passenger and freight operations in urban landscapes and bright suburban locations, as well as a look at the development of the city's rail network. Both are available January 2017 at KalmbachHobbyStore.com.